So my guest on today's podcast is Priya, who's been with us for a few years now in our funds administration team. Priya, it's wonderful to welcome you to ABACAST. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation to join us today.
Thank you, Chris. I'm actually excited, but a little bit nervous as well. So let's see.
I'm sure it'll be great. You're one of the senior people on the funds administration team. I think we're going to have to take a bit of a dive into what we mean by funds administration at some point, because for a lot of people, funds means completely different things. So we'll need to clarify what that is. But let's kind of rewind to your beginnings, and your professional life is a little bit unconventional, I suppose, even by your own admission. Yeah. So what made you kind of kick off in your late 30s into professional life? What was the reason why you chose that?
It's interesting is I did life the other way around. So I got married, I had my kids, and then I started my professional life. So like I got married very young. I was born in Spain in the Canary Islands, and I came here. At that time I had studied traductores intérpretes, so translation and interpretation of German and English into Spanish. And when I came here, there was no need for that because almost everybody is bilingual over here, so there was no need. And I did look at that time into pursuing some other education, but there wasn't anything really available. So I settled happily into married life, I had my kids, and I really enjoyed motherhood. I consider myself very lucky that I was able to be a stay-home mom with my girls when they were little. Right. But as they started growing up, I realized that they were going to go away because over here we didn't have a university at that time over here, and I thought I had to do something with myself. And that's when I started looking at what to do, what to study. In between, I had done some courses at the college, so I did a German conversational course, I did computer course, but then I came across this accounting qualification, the AAT, and I started studying then. I think my girls were maybe like 13 and 10 or that age, and here I am now, chartered accountant.
Great. And what made you choose accounting specifically? What was it that made you think? Because that wouldn't be necessarily everyone's go-to as a subject.
Exactly. Yeah, it wasn't mine. When I was little, I wanted to be a dentist because I thought it was great. I thought it was easy and a good money-making profession. Then I wanted to be translation interpreter. But when I came here, the choices that I saw here in which I could study and then have a job were at that time accounting or teaching, because I wasn't very much of a lawyer. I didn't see myself as a lawyer. Right. For the teaching, I found it very interesting because it would be good to balance my life at home with being teaching, because I would get the summer off, the holidays. But at that time there was a lot of teachers, so they said that even if I qualified as a teacher, there was a 5-year waiting list to get a job. So the other option was accounting. I was good at numbers, and I thought, let's give it a try.
Right, cool. And you said that you brought your kids up before you started off in the professional world, but were there any particular challenges that you can remember having had to face as a result of making that transition, or maybe the overlap between them?
Yeah. Initially, when I started studying at the college, the lessons were in the afternoons, so it was 2 afternoons a week. And at that time, Ravi has his own business, my husband has his own business, so it was easy for him to be able to come a bit early home and stay with them whilst I was going to the lessons, and I would study whilst the girls were at school. So that was okay. On the last year of the AAT, in order to get the qualification, I had to do a work-based project, and I needed a job at that time. So that's when I started looking for a job. So I think the challenge came then because I was used to be a 24/7 stay home. I was able to be available for my kids whenever they were home. And I think the challenge came for me personally to understand that, or to come to terms that I wouldn't be there for them at all times. So maybe the lunchtime when I started working, the lunchtime was not the same time as the girls would come home for lunch. And that kind of, it was difficult for me to accept that. Then after a few months, I was able to change my lunch hour, so I was able to be with them. And so that was, I think, the challenge, more than actually studying or anything. And then obviously then once we got to the ACCA, which I started much later, I think the challenge then was more like my parents are away in the Canary Islands, and the exams were every 3 months. So it was, at that time, it was more difficult for me to just go away on holidays or things like that to see.
So for folks who are listening, just to kind of clarify, the AAT stands for?
So the AAT is a course that was offered in college at that time. I think now it's offered in the university and is by the Association of Accounting Technicians.
Yeah.
So I think it's like an NVQ
Right.
rather than a professional qualification
Yes.
like the ACCA.
Right. And the ACCA is?
The ACCA is like a chartered accountant.
Right.
So that's when the ACCA honestly is not something that I thought of doing at that time. It's a lot more challenging. But then once the girls were both at university and I had a lot more free time, or what I thought was going to be more free time, then I embarked on the ACCA.
Yeah. And I was delighted to be able to celebrate your completion of it with you
Yes.
once you joined Abacus. So
So that was last year.
congratulations
So
again.
thank
Yeah,
you,
that was
thank you.
great stuff. Yeah.
So that was last year. I actually said I started the ACCA, I think I was probably 46, just before the pandemic, just before COVID. Little did I know that at that time the pandemic was going to come. My parents, my mother-in-law were getting older, so health issues were there. Hormones started playing up, so it was a lot of different things. But I said I want to make sure that I finish the qualification before I'm 50, and I managed to do that.
Yeah. Right. Let's get into the funds administration world a little bit. And let's try and clarify for people what we mean when we're talking about funds administration. Because like I said, I think a lot of people can think of funds being different things. So how would you describe to someone who knows nothing about it what it is that we do as a firm in relation to funds administration?
First of all, probably we should explain maybe what a fund is. So a fund is basically a collective pool of investments. So the investors that maybe they don't want to invest by themselves on stocks or crypto or something, they pool the funds together into a fund, and then there's an investment manager who would make the investments for them. So what we do essentially over here is we make sure that what the manager is doing and the valuation that investment of each individual investor has is what it is. No? So we kind of verify that independently, just so that it also gives the investor a bit of like reassurance, not to know there's somebody else looking at what the investment manager is doing. We also have the investment manager to onboard the investors, so we make sure that the KYC is done and things like that. So it's very interesting. It's accounting, of course, but there's a lot of little other things that come into play, and I think it makes the job very interesting.
I'm just going to pick up on that word assurance that you've referred to, because normally I would associate the word assurance with audit. It's auditors who give an assurance to third parties, to other stakeholders in relation to the accounts that they're presenting. But are we giving assurance in that sense, or something different?
Depends, because many of the funds opt to be audited. Like some of them need to be audited. If you are an experienced investor fund, the private funds don't necessarily need to be audited. So the assurance, you're right, it comes more from the auditor. But I think it's like, because there's another party like us involved, we are regulated. So we are like by the FSC, we're regulated, and I think as an investor, they know that somebody else is also, we also liaise a lot with investors. So when they onboard, we're the ones that do the onboarding for them. We send the valuation, the investor valuation report, we send that to the investor. They come back to us if they have queries, and
you say it's very interesting work, and I don't doubt that for you that it is. To me, it sounds painful and not something that I would particularly enjoy. So it sounds to me as though you've gone from wanting to inflict pain on others as a dentist and inflicting pain on yourself in the work that you currently do. But no, that's a great description. It's essentially an accounting function and a liaison with both the manager of the investments and the people who are making the investments themselves in that common fund. Thanks very much for the description. How do you see Gibraltar in that world? How do you see the way that Gibraltar's funds sector has developed over the years that you've been involved with it?
Gibraltar, I think the one great thing that we have over here in Gibraltar is our position. Geographically, we are positioned in the middle of the world. So talking to clients, whether they're in Africa, America, in Asia, in Europe itself, we're bang in the middle. So scheduling calls or meetings with clients it's within reasonable, like time. Apart from that, the fact that most of the professionals over here are bilingual, it really helps for international connections and clients. And the ecosystem that we have here, I think that's great. The fact that we are small and you're a phone call away from the lawyer, the auditor, the regulator, it makes us very efficient. And we can solve problems very quickly. So.
Yes. So one of the biggest headaches that I have as the CEO at Abacus is recruitment, and finding accountants under a stone somewhere is always the biggest challenge. Why do you think it's so difficult to recruit accountants in Gibraltar? I don't think it's just us. I think it's just an industry-wide phenomenon.
I was recently in the GSA annual dinner that they had, and we were talking about that in the table. I was talking about how difficult it is to get accountants, and it is a complex issue because I don't know whether it might be that young students are now going on and studying different careers. Like maybe I can see there's a lot of people going to do teaching or maybe computer science, or whether the kids that do go to study accounting, they maybe stay abroad for a little bit longer in order to, maybe finish the ACCA in England, or they come back and maybe go into different fields in finance. It's very interesting. It's good to see that both as a jurisdiction and us, for example, as a firm, as Abacus, we have the summer program, no? In which we try to bring young students that are still at university and come and experience what accounting is, no? And I think in those 2 months, like last year, we had a couple of students who actually really enjoyed it.
Yes.
They got a bit of an experience into what accounting is. They did practice with practice accounts with a few clients, which are obviously reviewed later. But I think they liked it, and hopefully, a little things like that, initiatives like that will help to encourage young people to come back and pursue their career in accounting.
Accounting's always had a bad rap. Accountants are always accused of being boring and dull. Having worked with a number of them for now many years, I think that's completely untrue. But if you think studying accounting is hard, you should try studying trusteeship. It's like a totally different dimension of dullness. You finished your ACCA at 49. We already touched on that. It was by your own admission and request that we included your age in that question. So, but how did that feel when you hit that mark?
Felt amazing. Yeah. It felt like such an accomplishment. Initially, because it's not something that I have thought of doing. Two, because I felt such a weight off my shoulders. And three, I thought I'm going to get my life back. I think in the last, especially the last exams, the professional exams, it got quite challenging, and I think I missed out on all social life. My friends would call me for dinner. I said, I can't, I'm studying. Right. So I was very boring, like an accountant is, in those last few years. But I felt great. One of the first things I did, actually, after finishing, I called a friend a couple of days later, and I told her she was starting a book club in La Línea, a Spanish book club. And I feel that since I'm here, obviously my life is more in English now. I was kind of missing reading in Spanish. So I joined the book club in La Línea. We go once a month and we discuss a book. Yeah, I've started again my exercise routine. I'm cooking again. So. Yeah.
All right, great. That's good news for all of us. Yeah. Do you think you're now at the point where you can say you've got a satisfactory one? I mean, you've already clearly referred to that by talking about how you felt after you closed off the studying part of your life. Do you feel that right now you've got a decent work-life balance? It's a tricky question when you're talking to the boss, I suppose. But
I think so. I think I've finally been able to go back. I am very disciplined, so I think that kind of helps. No, the discipline kind of leads to a routine, no, and then from the routine I get the consistency, and that consistency is what delivers the result that we want in life, no? So I think that the fact that I'm very disciplined will say, like, I know that I want to do my exercise. So I think twice a week I go personal training. I try to do that in the morning though, so that, it doesn't affect, one day, like sometimes you come finish work and you're tired or you just can't be bothered. So at least I do that in the mornings. So life-work balance, yeah, I think it's good.
Great. Well, that's good to hear. Just circling back to the funds world again, one of the kind of mystical words that's now associated with funds, well, I suppose the finance sector generally, but funds, especially in our business, is crypto. And I'm not going to get you to talk about crypto because I think that would be just foolish from my perspective because I don't understand it. Hopefully we'll have guys on the podcast later down the track who'll be able to dive into that more deeply as we go forward. But just thinking a little bit about crypto, without necessarily getting into the technical detail of it, where do you see crypto in the bigger funds space? So you've got your traditional funds, you've got your international managed funds, your traditional asset classes, that would be bonds, equities, and so forth. Where do you think crypto fits into that kind of macro picture?
I think crypto right now it's an emerging thing, and with the AI that's coming in, it's going to make it also that much easier for us to be able to target, to deal with the crypto funds. But it's ever evolving. Sometimes I think we are all learning also as we go. Like we prepare, like the clients, the fund managers, even they're learning, and every time we prepare like a new nav, there's always something new that they are investing in and they're learning. So I think it's a space to watch. It's very interesting, and I think.
Yes or no question. Is it here to stay? Is it just a ship in the night?
I think it's here to stay.
Yeah?
I think it's here to
Okay,
stay.
interesting. Thanks. What's the most unconventional skill you've learned as a result of your professional life and that you can deploy at work?
Unconventional skill, I would say probably thinking outside the box.
Right.
It's because what we were saying just now, for example, in the crypto fund, there's always something new happening, or maybe a client comes and the deadline has changed, and you have to think outside the box to see how to be able to fix the problem whilst remaining calm. I think staying calm is very important, and we want to, the client is number one, right? So we want the client to be happy. So I think thinking outside the box to find a solution for the client, that's the main thing. Another thing that I've developed is patience, because what we do is quite detailed, and there's a lot of regulation in it, and I think you have to work through the layers to get to eventually, give the end product.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I've developed patience at work, but
Right.
I have my patience at home, or when somebody sends you like a voice message, a 2-minute voice message, I have no patience. I put it on double speed
Right.
to make sure that it goes quick.
We'll ask Ravi for a testimonial. Yeah. Okay, let's round up with one last kind of observation, which is that there's one man in particular at this time who's causing, let's call them ripples around the world. And the impact that all of that is having on global financial markets is there for all of us to see. At Abacus, we've got this great funds administration business. It's done extremely well from its beginnings very recently in comparative terms. Do you think this market turbulence is going to, how do you think this market turbulence is going to impact the business going forward, just generally? And not necessarily in relation to Abacus, but just more generally across the fund investment world?
To be honest, I wouldn't know. I don't know what to say, because it's so bizarre what's happening. The things that are happening in the world, is like, I don't think anyone would have expected. Would you ever expect that when?
No.
It's very strange. I think we have to wait and watch, hope for the best. I think in Gibraltar, I think there's something special about Gibraltar, and we always know how to overcome whatever comes our way. So if it does affect us in any way, I think together as a community, we will know what to do and how to overcome it.
That's a great note on which to finish the podcast. Thank you very much for coming on and for being my guest this afternoon.
Thank you, Chris. It's a
Great
pleasure.
to have you.
Thank you.